Hey everyone, welcome to our top 10 list. Here's my top 10 personal favorite Best Picture winners when it comes to the Academy Awards. Yes, the Oscars are coming on soon in February, and I'm very curious to see who wins the Oscars. And to celebrate the Oscars, I thought I'd talk about the previous winners of the Oscars, who won Best Picture. So I thought I'd do a top 10 best and worst list of the Best Picture winners. I think the Oscars sometimes make poor choices by giving the wrong movies the Best Picture win, but sometimes they make perfect choices and very good movies win the Best Pictures of the year, and I'm here to celebrate those movies, because this is my top 10 favorite movies that won Best Picture at the Oscars. And remember, this is just a personal favorites of mine. Personal favorites. Remember that. Anyways, before our top 10 list, you gotta have your honorable mentions. And my honorable mentions for my top 10 personal favorite Best Picture winners are Birdman, The King's Speech, The Departed, Titanic, No Country for Old Men, Gladiator, American Beauty, The Silence of the Lambs, and Rocky. All great winners. They all won Best Picture. Love all those movies. Just gonna make the top 10 list. There's a lot of great movies, just couldn't make the top 10 list, but what did make my top 10 was my number 10. And my number 10 is Gone with the Wind. Yes, 1939's Gone with the Wind. In 1939 was an amazing year for movies. Come on, like Goodbye Mr. Chips came out, Gunga Din, The Wizard of Oz, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Phenomenal movies, but Gone with the Wind was easily the best movie in my opinion. Victor Fleming directed the movie. Phenomenal. Clark Gable, Olivia de Havilland, Vivian Leigh, all fantastic in the movie. It's a phenomenal period piece. It's based off a book which is brilliantly written, and this movie is brilliantly written. It hands down the best picture of 1939. I love this movie, and I think it 100% deserved all the Oscars it got. It got 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, even though I loved The Wizard of Oz a little more. I think Wizard of Oz is more of a favorite of mine, but Gone with the Wind is the better movie, and it deserved the Best Picture. Coming number 9 is Braveheart. Yes, they may take our land, but they'll never take our freedom. Yes, Mel Gibson won 2 Oscars for this movie because he directed and produced, and it won Best Director and Best Picture of the Year. And Braveheart is an amazing movie. It totally deserves the Best Picture. This is a phenomenal movie, very gripping story, phenomenal action, top-notch cinematography, and Mel Gibson just shows that he can be a great talent. He's a great director, and he's a phenomenal actor, and I loved him in this movie as Wallace. He's so freaking good in this movie. The action scenes are so well done, and I'm glad like a movie kind of like this wins. Like, not a lot of movies like these win. Like, yeah, Ben-Hur won, but a lot of these, like, you know, action sort of period piece kind of movies, they don't always win, but I'm glad Braveheart won. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's my favorite Mel Gibson movie, and it hands down deserved the Best Picture win. And yeah, I love it. Freedom. Coming number 8 is The Apartment. Yes, Billy Wilder's The Apartment. I know a lot of people will disagree, because some people don't like The Apartment, some people don't think it's a good movie. I freaking love this movie. I love Jack Lemmon in it. I love Billy Wilder's movies. He did a phenomenal job writing and directing this movie. I know it came out the same year as Psycho, which is a better movie, but Psycho was so controversial, it was in no way, shape, or form going to win Best Picture that year. So it had to go with The Apartment, because The Apartment's the next best thing, and I love The Apartment just as much as I love Psycho. Psycho may be a little bit of a better movie, but I love The Apartment. I freaking can't get enough of this movie. I think the chemistry between the 2 leads is fantastic. I think the writing is top-notch. I think it has a brilliant score, top-notch editing, and it's one of the greatest movies of all time. The Apartment, is sure, some people might find it underwhelming or boring, but I don't care. I fucking love it, and I'm glad it won Best Picture. Coming number 7 is The Artist. Yes, this is another movie. People are going to disagree. That people are going to be like, this is so dull. This is like Oscar bait kind of movie. How could you like The Artist? I like The Artist. It's because I love silent film. I grew up on silent films because my grandparents showed me a lot of silent movies, and I love silent movies, and I'm glad a new movie made a silent movie. Like, I'm glad our generation finally got to make a silent movie. I thought this would bring back the silent movies. Apparently it didn't, but I'm glad they made a silent movie of our generation, because it's so well done. I love this movie, The Artist. Michel Hazanavicius did a phenomenal job writing and directing this movie. I thought Jean Dujardin, Bernice Berjou, John Goodman, Missy Pyle, James Cornwell were all fantastic. Even the small performance by Malcolm McDowell. They're just so good in this movie. I love this movie. I love the music. I love the score. I love the costumes, cinematography, editing, everything, the production design, everything about this movie is so good. It's very funny, very dramatic, very deep, very powerful, very gripping, and I fucking love it. Sure, like I said, Hugo I liked more. I think Hugo was the better movie of 2011. But the artist deserved it. A silent movie deserved to win something. We needed to acknowledge that silent movies still exist, and they still can exist. And this just won, not only for it's this kind of movie, but it won for all the silent movies out there. Because a silent movie hasn't won an Oscar, and God knows when. And I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, but this is a new generation. We don't need silent movies. Yeah, we do. Silent movies are phenomenal, amazing artistic films, and the artist just showed us that silent movies can still be relevant and can still be amazing, and I love this movie. I try to talk about this movie whenever I can because I hope it gets people to watch more silent films because they're not just for old people, they're for everyone, and The Artist is a fantastic movie, and I am super glad, in my opinion, that it did win Best Picture because I loved it. Coming number 6 is Lawrence of Arabia. Yes, it came out the same year as another big movie, To Kill a Mockingbird, and that's a fantastic movie, and glad Gregory Peck won the Best Actor. I think he deserved to beat Peter O'Toole, but as a whole, Lawrence of Arabia is much better. David Lean's direction is top freaking notch. The cinematography is some of the best cinematography I've ever seen in any movies. Omar Sharif, I wish he won supporting actor, because I love Omar Sharif in this movie. I even love Al Guinness, he's fantastic too, and it's got a phenomenal script, it's got phenomenal cinematography, phenomenal direction by David Lean, and Peter O'Toole as Lawrence himself is a phenomenal, very complex, great three-dimensional character, and I thought Peter O'Toole did a fantastic job. Sadly, Peter O'Toole is an actor who passed away who had no Oscars, and that's it's just a shame because he's a brilliant actor, and he's one of my favorites, and this movie is the best movie he's played in, and that is saying a lot, because it's fucking Peter O'Toole. This is that guy who's played movies like Troy, The Lion in Winter, and The Last Emperor, but this is his best movie. This is a masterpiece of cinema. This is one of the greatest movies of all time for a reason, because it is just so brilliant. They made the desert, look awesome and look cool and look epic and just look pretty. That's hard to do. And yeah, what else do I say? Lawrence of Arabia, awesome and epic. Coming number 5 is In the Heat of the Night. Yes, In the Heat of the Night. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I will not sing again. Yeah, I will. But anyways, I love the In the Heat of the Night. Another movie some people think, oh, that's okay. But come on. This was 1967. Come on. Movies like Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, and Cool Hand Luke came out. Those are better than In the Heat of the Night. In your opinion, maybe. I love Bonnie and Clyde. I love The Graduate. Graduate's one of my favorites. I love The Graduate. Dustin Hoffman's so good. And I love Cool Hand Luke. I even love Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. All great movies, but I think In the Heat of the Night was the best movie of that year. I think it's fucking top-notch. I thought Sidney Poitier was fantastic as Mr. Tibbs. I thought, Rod Steiger was so good in the movie. He totally deserved his Oscar win. So good. I thought the music, I loved Ray Charles' soundtrack to this movie. It was so good. I thought it was brilliantly directed. Come on, you get the director of Fiddler on the Roof to direct this movie. Talk about some good film choices right there. And I love this movie. It tackles racism, but also tackles a lot of other issues, and it's also a murder mystery. And it's all done very well with great writing, great direction, and 2 solid performances by 2 great actors, Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. They're phenomenal in this movie, and their chemistry is very interesting, and I love how they build a friendship in this movie. It's very well done, and I love these 2 actors, and I just love this movie. In the Heat of the Night is one of the Best Picture winners. Coming number 4 is The Godfather. Yes, 1972 gave us The Godfather. A lot of people say Godfather Part 2. Where's The Godfather Part 2? Come on, Godfather Part 2? I love The Godfather Part 2, but The Godfather is better, in my opinion. Godfather Part 2 totally deserved the Best Picture win of its year, and I fucking love that movie. That movie's amazing. But Godfather is a personal favorite of mine. I thought Marlon Brando was amazing in this movie. Same with James Caan and Robert Duvall and Al Pacino. They're all so good in this movie, and the story is better than the original source material. When people saw this movie, they were expecting, okay, an average movie, because the book itself was a very average book. But the movie was even better than the book. Like, how does it do that? Like, this movie was so good. Francis Ford Coppola's writing and direction was top-notch. Yes, I know Godfather Part 2 won more Academy Awards, and people say it is the better movie. I'm a kind of person, I'm a sucker for originals. Like, I'm the kind of person who likes the first Terminator better than T2, and I like Fellowship of the Ring better than Return of the King and stuff. Like, I'm that kind of person who's all for the very first movie. I always root for the first movie, and The Godfather is one of those movies. I like the first one. Coming number 3 is Amadeus. Yes, this movie is about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and this is such a phenomenal movie. This movie is a tad romanticized and fictionalized because not everything in this movie is 100% accurate, but the movie's not supposed to be 100% accurate. It's here to tell you a story about Mozart, but through the eyes of his arch enemy, Antonio Salieri, who's played top-notch by F. Murray Abraham. F. Murray Abraham won the Best Actor award, and he 100% deserved it. He was amazing. Yes, Tom Hulce was fantastic as Mozart, but F. Murray Abraham freaking killed it. Milos Forman's direction is fantastic. This movie is based off of an old Mozart play, and it's so well done. The writing is good, the direction is good, the costumes look amazing, the opera music gives the movie a more epic feel, and it's just an amazing movie. This is one of my favorites of all time, and this is the best movie you'll ever watch that's about Mozart. So yeah, give it a watch. Coming number 2 is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Yes, this actually showed that the Oscars aren't just uptight people. They don't just, make all the classy movies win the Best Picture. An actual action movie, like an action fantasy movie, can win Best Picture. Because in 1977, people thought this could never happen because Star Wars lost to Annie Hall. The reason, some people are like, oh, Annie Hall didn't deserve it, but Annie Hall is a phenomenal movie. I could see why it beat Star Wars. I like Star Wars better than Annie Hall, but Annie Hall's a phenomenal movie. But Lord of the Rings: Return of the King should have won it, and it did win. I would love to see Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers both win, but what do you do? Return of the King won 11 Academy Awards, and only 2 other movies have done that, win 11 Academy Awards. That's Ben-Hur and Titanic, and 2 great movies, and I thought this was just so well deserved, and it just shocked me. When this movie won Best Picture, I was like, what? Really? Like, nice! Good job! I can't believe the Oscars, took the 6 out of their asses and actually nominated a great movie. Like, Lord of the Rings, the franchise itself is just an epic and amazing franchise, and I'm glad one of the movies took a Best Picture because it deserved it. It really did. Nice job, Peter Jackson. And my number 1 favorite movie that won Best Picture is Casablanca. Yes, Casablanca, 1942, Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, directed by Michael Curtis, and this movie is one of my favorite movies. If I did a top 10 of my favorite movies, this would be number 3 or 4. I cannot get enough of Casablanca. I think Casablanca is almost a damn near perfect film. Between its performances, writing, direction, phenomenal music, and top-notch editing, I think this movie is almost damn near perfect. And no other movie deserved the Best Picture that year other than Casablanca. I'm a little annoyed that Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman didn't get trophies for their roles because they're both spectacular. I think Claude Rains got supporting actor nomination. He deserved it because he was so good, but Humphrey Bogart, come on. It's Humphrey Bogart. Everyone knows Rick. Rick from Casablanca is one of the most iconic classic movie characters, and he didn't even get a win for that. That was bullshit, but I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think out of all the Best Picture winners, this was the most deserving of a win, and thank God it did, because Casablanca is a masterpiece. So yeah, that was my top 10 personal favorite movies that won Best Picture. So yeah, stay tuned to my next video. I'll talk about the top 10 worst movies that won Best Picture at the Oscars. But yeah, that was my top 10 favorites. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this list? And if not, what are some of your favorite movies that won Best Picture at the Oscars? Give me your top 10s, comment below, and let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.